You want to be done with the neo-libs, we'll engage with this slop. Ezra Klein is generally an intelligent guy. Whatever disagreements I have with him, I can't really deny that fact. This post is embarrassing. It's super, super embarrassing. By Ezra Klein, one of the left thought leaders, and has been for a while, at least since the Obama years. Charlie Kirk was practicing politics the right way. I think this is like I don't want to say it's a grift, but it's like an abundance bro thing where they're willing to capture the center and they want to capture the right. Like the abundance bros have made an effort to go and talk with a bunch of right-leaning people. They have been performatively anti the left basically since the book came out. Newsom said the same thing. Yeah, but you should just say Newsom. I don't like it when people do the funny haha names. The Big Orange Cheeto. The foundation of a free society is the ability to participate in politics without fear of violence. To lose that is to risk losing everything. Charlie Kirk and his family just lost everything. As a country, we came a step closer to losing everything too. Okay? We've been edging closer for some time now. In 2020, a plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, was foiled by the FBI. In 2021, a mob stormed the Capitol in an effort to overturn the result of an election, and pipe bombs were found at the DNC and RNC headquarters. In 2022, a man broke into the home of Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House at the time, intending to kidnap her. She was absent, but the intruder struck her 82-year-old husband, Paul, with a hammer, fracturing his skull. In 2024, President Trump was nearly assassinated. That same year, Brian Thompson, the chief executive of United Healthcare, was murdered. In 2025, Molotov cocktails were thrown into the home of Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania during Passover. Melissa Hortman, the former House Speaker of Minnesota, and her husband were murdered. And State Senator John Hoffman and his wife were severely injured by a gunman. And on Wednesday, Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, was gunned down during a speech at Utah Valley University. So far, nothing's really wrong. You can dislike much of what Kirk believed, and the following statement is still true. Kirk was practicing politics in exactly the right way. No, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's true at all. I think that both the content of his politics and the way he engaged in them were wretched and evil. He was showing up to campuses and talking with anyone who would talk to him. Yeah, like the way YouTubers do. He was one of the era's most effective practitioners of persuasion. No. He would post edited compilations. He went out of his way to challenge uneducated, non-media trained college students. He's received a ton of media training. They haven't. And even then he would edit around them to make sure he always looked good. He was disingenuous and bad faith all the time. He was not out there seeking honest debate. What kind of insane grift? What lie is Ezra Klein trying to push here? To insinuate that Charlie Kirk was engaging in good faith here. When the left thought its holds on the hearts and minds of college students was nearly absolute, Kirk showed up again and again to break it. No, college students are overwhelmingly left-leaning. Charlie Kirk got a lot of attention at those change my mind college meetings because everyone there disagreed with him. What the he went over there to rabble. This is like arguing that Milo Yiannopoulos is like the ultimate advocate for free speech because when he would go to Berkeley, everyone there hated him. Slowly, then, all at once, he did. College-age voters shifted sharply right in the 2024 election. Everyone shifted sharply right in the 2024 election. The idea that Charlie Kirk was the reason for it is laughable. It's because Donald Trump is a main character and Charlie Kirk isn't. This is a ridiculous thing to suggest. Charlie Kirk was the reason why. So what's the implication then? Like, Charlie Kirk went to every university in America and changed their minds directly? Like the fact that he was proximate to colleges meant that he changed the minds of college students? How does that work? Is this guy high or something? No, but he's grifting to the right. Like every liberal who betrays us over and over again. Betrays us in America, by the way. Like all treasonous fucks like Ezra Klein. The left is like an unknowable, unappealable to entity that should only be disregarded. Whereas the right has to be capitulated to nonstop. I've seen even like milquetoast liberals go after Ezra Klein for this, by the way. Like, I think that like Ezra Klein has received a lot of backlash for this, and not just from the left. This was not all Kirk's doing, but he was central in laying the groundwork for it. I did not know Kirk, and I am not the right person to eulogize him, but I envied what he built. A taste for disagreement is a virtue in a democracy. Insane take. Absolutely insane. Like, you might as well argue that the brown shirts were advocates of a free society because they freely participated in the right to protest and organize. Just like a laughable... I don't believe Ezra Klein actually believes this. I have to assume it's lying. You would have to be either very low IQ or very uninformed to think that Charlie Kirk was engaging in anything even approximating free discussion, with an interest in promoting liberal values. Liberalism could use more of his moxie and fearlessness. In the inaugural episode of his podcast, Gavin Newsom of California hosted Kirk, admitting that his son was a huge fan. What a testament to Kirk's project. It's all a grift, dude. On social media, I've seen mostly decent reactions to Kirk's murder. Also a lie. Twitter is absolutely packed full of people cheering. There is grief and shock from both the left and the right, but I've seen two forms of reaction that are misguided, however comprehensible the rage or horror that provoked them. One is a move on the left to wrap Kirk's death around his views. After all, he defended the Second Amendment, even admitting it meant accepting innocent deaths. I actually do agree about this one. I do agree that the whole, oh, you live by the sword, die by the sword thing is worthless hypocrisy posting. Like, Charlie Kirk being in favor of the Second Amendment and him being assassinated with a 100-year-old hunting rifle are two completely irrelevant statements. Like, they have no, like, there are no gun laws that will ever pass in this country ever that will make it impossible to get a hold of a Mauser 30-06. No, there's no way, dude. You can get that gun anywhere. So like, it's just meaningless hypocrisy posting. It's fallacious. Another is on the right to turn his murder into a justification for an all-out war, a Reichstag fire for our time. But as the list above reveals, there is no world in which political violence escalates but is contained to just your foes. Even if that were possible, it would still be a world of horrors, a society that had collapsed into the most irreversible form of unfreedom. Yeah, can you imagine a society in which an extremely partisan political force had taken over the government and were weaponizing all of its enforcement apparatuses to exclusively target their political enemies? Like, for example, Donald Trump explicitly saying that he will be giving grants to states that elected him and will be sending the military to cities full of Democrats. Things he's just openly said. Political violence is a virus. It is contagious. We have been through periods in this country where it was endemic. In the 1960s, there were the assassinations of JFK, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Robert F. Kennedy, and Medgar Evers. In the 1970s, George Wallace was shot by a would-be assassin but survived. Gerald Ford faced 2 assassination attempts in 1 month. In 1981, Reagan survived after Hinckley Jr.'s bullet ricocheted off his rib and punctured his lung. These is pretty words that mean nothing. These assassins and would-be assassins had different motives, different politics, and different levels of mental stability. When political violence becomes imaginable, either as a tool of politics or a ladder for fame, it begins to infect hosts needlessly. Notice how this paragraph has nothing to do with the title of the article. Charlie Kirk was a hate-mongerer and fascist who weaponized every tool given to him by a liberal democracy to remove that liberal democracy. He was openly dishonest, preached hate, and celebrated the violence of people directed against people who were political enemies. American politics has sides. There is no use pretending it doesn't. But both sides are meant to be part of the same side of a larger project. They're not. That's not true. That's not reality. Like, holy shit. How can you possibly think that we live in this reality? We are all, or most of us anyway, trying to maintain the viability of the American experiment. No, we're not. No, we're not. This is like the liberal myth, the idea that Republicans are just failing to do liberal democracy as well as Democrats are. Like, oh, the reason that every single thing they do and say is fascist is because they're just ineptly failing over and over and over again in ways that are increasingly harmful both to us and the fabric of the state and the Constitution to do liberal democracy. Why does every liberal sound like they're perpetually trapped in 2010 era dialogue? Well, you'll never guess when Ezra Klein became prominent. You'll never guess what he made his career off of. At the end of the day, these people aren't that different from the MAGA pundits in the sense that they're just content creators, you know? Ezra Klein, just like Iglesias and those other types, make their money off of Substack subscriptions, podcast appearances, and public speeches. They make their money off appealing to a certain demographic. You can think of them as like an old band, you know? Maybe they're not as big as they were back in the old days, but, you know, if you're like a hair metal band from the 1980s, you're not going to try to appeal to a new audience by mixing up your sound and putting out like a prog rock album or hip-hop or whatever, you know? You're going to keep appealing to your old fans. You're going to try to milk them for as much money and attention as you can get. And a lot of them will love you just because they're used to the same. That's what they're doing here. They're trying to play to the same old audience over and over and over again. They're still pretending that it's 2011. But it's not. And over time, the attention they've gotten has dwindled. Hence the abundance grift. Hence the appealing to the right. We can live with losing an election because we believe in the promise of the next election. We can live with losing an argument because we believe there will be another argument. No, that is not how politics works. Not only is that not how liberal democracy works, that's not how politics works. Politics isn't like an epic chess game where after you lose, you shake hands and go for another round. It's actually like a life or death battle every time. Political violence imperils that. Kirk and I were on different sides of most political arguments. We were on the same side of the continued possibility of American politics. No, you were not. Charlie Kirk is explicitly anti-democracy. He was an open, avowed Christian nationalist who supported anti-democratic policies. There's no ambiguity here. He wasn't dog whistling. He was really open about it. It is supposed to be an argument, not a war. It is supposed to be one with words, not ended with bullets. I wanted Kirk to be safe for his sake, but I also wanted him to be safe for mine and for the sake of our larger shared project. The same is true for Shapiro, Hoffman, Hortman, Thompson, Trump, Pelosi, for Whitmer. We are all safe, or none of us are. Thank you. Great. Phenomenal. Great stuff, really. And as always, I suppose, a reminder of how useless and feckless and inconsistent liberals are when faced with an existential threat to their democracy. Speaking to a void as well. There just isn't as much of an audience for this particular kind of grift, which is why he's trying to appeal to the right here, you know? There are not that many Obama-era liberals who are waking up every morning and thinking, well, at the end of the day, the Republicans and us, we're on the same side. We're just pursuing different paths towards promoting the American experiment. There just aren't that many people engaging in that bullshit rhetoric anymore. So like the audience dries up and eventually you kind of have to grift to like to the right. Never to the left, mind you. These people never, ever, ever, for some reason, they never grift to the left, you know? And if you want reason for that, I think their enduring support for the increase in corporate power, their support for deregulation, their selective deregulation, their support for public-private partnerships and Obama-era, seed Wall Street bullshit, I think speaks for itself, you know? They would have to really challenge their principles to move to the left. But does this rhetoric even work on rightoids anymore? No, it does not. Appreciate the calming of the waters, Ezra, and yet I find it naive to think that his rhetoric was not escalationist and violent to itself. Charlie Kirk should not have been murdered, but we also need not rehabilitate his image because of the heinous circumstances of his death. What Ezra doesn't get is that American liberty doesn't start and end with his political podcast, Class of Pundits, being able to make their points in peace and say whatever they want without fear of reprisal. American liberal democracy was violated when Kirk repeatedly claimed that non-white migration was a threat to the white race. Setting up a tent for college kids to argue with him about it doesn't absolve him of being a pusher of hate and supporter of political violence. I can't see how what Charlie Kirk did was, quote, practicing politics the right way. Any engagement he conducted was to promote disinformation and mock people who disagreed with him. I disagree with this position. Kirk did nothing but stir hatred throughout the land. Everyone here him. And this is, by the way, the comment section for the New York Times. Not exactly, we're not on the New Republic. We're not on Jezebel. We're not on the Daily Beast. We're not in the Rolling Stone comment section. We're not in the Intercept. These are Times commenters. So no, this grift doesn't sell anymore. He made $5 for this. I hope it was worth it. And some bubble gum.